Hello there, survivors. Your first Horde night is coming, and it's heading your way whether you're ready or not. But fear not. Today I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do to prepare and come out on top. We'll be covering 4 essential pillars of survival for 7 days to die, and I'll be sharing some battle-tested tips and tricks that will dramatically increase your chances of making it through that dreaded night. So go ahead and grab your gear and let's get into it. Let's go ahead and go over the 4 pillars of survival. You're going to focus on leveling up, grabbing better gear, building a stockpile of relevant items for the Horde night, and making or finding a Horde base. The great thing is that one general task is going to accomplish 3 out of 4 of those things. And I'm not going to yank your chain, let's just go ahead and tell you what it is. You're simply going to do your daily missions every day with the trader, and that's it. And that might sound weird to you, right? It's like, I'm already doing the daily missions with the trader, why do I need to further reinforce a fact? Well, as of version 1.1, you're limited to 4 missions a day that will actually affect your tier level. So why is this relevant? Well, if you think about it, you only have 7 days until Horde night. And if you can only do 4 missions that actually affect your trader level, that means at most you can get to tier 3. With higher level tiers, we have access to better items, better missions, higher payouts, more difficult enemies, better gear. So we want to raise our trader level as much as possible. Keep in mind, you can change this setting. If you want it to be more than 4, you can change that when you make the world. But we're going to stick with the default 4 as that is what's probably going to be used by most people. Starting off with the first pillar, we have leveling up. Leveling up is an extremely crucial aspect to this game as it provides the following benefits. 1, it provides a skill point that can be used in the skill trees. The points can be spent on main attributes or specific skills. Leveling up also affects your game stage or your loot stage. This is relevant as higher end game stages means better loot. This is also a double-edged sword though, as a higher game stage means more difficult zombies. There are some pretty good guides out there that will min-max your character to its highest potential. But in this guide, I'm going to give you the best all-around skills that I think that you should be using, especially if you're a beginner in this game. First up on the list is Master Chef. Master Chef only requires 1 point. You don't even need to increase your strength attribute. 20% less of the recipe's main ingredients, 40% faster cooking, and an added bonus, find more cooking magazines in loot. That's also a very big one because you want to increase your cooking skill as much as you can. And food is a really big issue at the beginning of the game. So if you could stretch out your ingredients that much more likely to survive, and you're not going to be dying as much and getting to EXP debt. The next one up on the list is Spearmaster under the Perception tree. I think spears, especially for beginners, are great just because of the reach and range that you have with a spear, and they're just all around really good weapons. Having at least 1 level in spear, especially the early levels, is going to help you out a lot. I would recommend to at least get level 2 or even 3. You're probably going to have to get your perception to at least level 5 or 6 in order to get to that though, but the payoff is worth it. You look here, you're going to find more spears and parts and loot, reduce stamina costs, do more damage. It's all around a great skill to have, especially at the early game when you're relying heavily on melee weapons. Another solid perk to have, and you can only put 1 level in it, is living off the land, because right off the bat, double the harvest of wild or planted crops. Especially if you're into farming, this is a really solid thing. It's also really helpful if you're just harvesting things out in the wilderness, like grass bunches. With a continuation of material gathering, Miner 69er is a solid thing to have, especially when you're trying to do some harvesting for wood, or if it's rocks or sand, whatever it may be. You increase the tool damage and block damage with any axe, pick, shovel, chainsaw, or auger. Now, you're probably not going to have a chainsaw or an auger for a pretty long time, but it's going to affect your axe, pickaxe, and shovel pretty. And you're also going to find more tools and parts and loot. With this one, you could put a few more points if you feel like you find yourself looking for materials a lot. If you're into base building and you're trying to build that perfect base, I would say go for this one. Moving on to some defensive perks, Pain Tolerance. Pain Tolerance is something that just gives you a flat damage reduction percentage. It's really nice. You also have a percentage reduction in getting stunned. I would put a few points in this one. It's a really solid one to have. 1 point, you're reducing it by 5% and 20% less chance to get stunned, but it does increase as you add more, about 5% more each for the damage reduction and 20% more each time for the stun. And at the highest level, you have no chance of getting stunned, and it's a 25% damage reduction and no chance of getting stunned. That's pretty good. Continuing off with the defensive perks, I feel like Parkour is really underestimated. I know it swings with some people one way and swings another way with other people. In my opinion, it's a really solid perk, and it allows you to get into places that you normally wouldn't have access to and escape zombies swarming you much easier. Level 1 really doesn't do much for you. It's where you get to level 2. You would need to have your agility to at least 3 or 4. I forgot the exact level, but that requires you to add some attribute points. But if you can get to level 2 before Horde Night, you're going to be in a solid position. If you get it all the way to level 4, you jump 2 meters higher instead of just 1. This is where things really start coming into play. You gain access to stuff that's normally not available for most players. You're able to jump to things that normally couldn't be accessible to you, and you can, in a sense, create new paths going around points of interest and escape things a lot easier. In my opinion, this is more important than pain tolerance, but some people might argue that it's not good and it's just a waste of time. But check it out. Give it a try, see what you think. You can always reset your skills with a Grandpa's Forget It elixir if you decide you don't like these skills. Moving on to some offensive skills, running gun is really good if you're going for a ranged build, specifically with firearms. It says any ranged weapon, but I think using firearms is going to be the key, because with a bow and arrow or crossbow, it's much easier to reload those, but you slow down considerably when you're reloading a firearm. And having this all the way to level 3 is amazing because you have no movement penalty. So you can keep shooting and moving as fast as you can no matter what. I personally love this one, and I have it in my build. Here's a pro tip. If you want to go with a ranged build, I recommend just dropping 1 level in Gunslinger. Just get level 1. You don't need to put anything else in here. Just get level 1. Get level 1 Machine Gunner, and then get level 1 Boomstick. And the reason why is read this last part at the end. Find more shotgun parts, or find more shotguns, more parts, and more shotgun ammo and loot. This is really important. That ammo part is the very important part, because if you get this at the beginning, you'll have plenty of ammo by the time Horde Night runs around and you're raiding points of interest and doing quests, because you're going to be finding a lot more ammo for all these guns, and you're going to be in a really good position. I personally max these out because I like to use all kinds of guns. I literally use every single type of gun. I'm not stuck to one gun. I'm using shotguns. I'll use some machine guns. I'll use snipers. It just depends on the situation. I'll switch from gun to gun, and I'll end up having a lot. And since we're doing the max daily missions every day before Horde Night, just getting 1 level in this is also really good too, because getting 5% more dukes and having better access to better trading items is going to help you be able to buy better equipment. Moving on to pillar number 2, grabbing better gear. Just by doing your trader missions every day, you're going to accomplish this naturally. You're going to be looting points of interest. You're also going to be killing zombies that drop bags of loot. You can also use the dukes that you get from the missions to buy stuff at the trader. So naturally, you're going to get better stuff. Here's some milestones that I think you should have set up for your first Horde Night. Starting off with the first thing, we want our primary melee weapon. It could be any one of these as long as you prefer to use it. I will say, I don't think the stone axe is a great one to use, and neither is a wooden club, but it is better than nothing. But as you can see here, the difference between a stone axe and a wooden club, it's about 4.8. So again, I wouldn't use a stone axe, and I also probably wouldn't be inclined to be using a wood club. Also note, I do have random levels in here, but all of these need to be at least level 2 or higher, so please keep that in mind. So whatever weapon that you want to choose, go ahead. The first level here is the one that needs to be the minimum. The wish list item is this one up here. And again, I'm not expecting you to get iron knuckles or an iron spear or an iron sledgehammer. These are kind of mid-tier level items. So if you can get them, great. If not, don't worry about it. You need to at least get this, and this is like a perfect example here. Have at least a level 2 stone spear. If you can get it higher, great. If not, don't stress about it. But just make sure that it's the item that you want to use for your melee weapon, because this is going to be your bread and butter if you run out of ammo. I also highly recommend at least putting 1 modifier on that melee weapon. So for this, you can put this on the stone spear and make it so it does damage over time and light up areas if you attack. This will cause less stamina usage if you put it on a melee weapon, and this will have more damage on bladed weapons. We then need a primary ranged weapon. Particularly, we need to get the pipe rifle. the pipe rifle is going to be the one thing that you're going to be using for the most part of the night. In addition to the pipe rifle, we also need to have at least a 4 or 8 scope mod on here, because we're going to be taking shots at these zombies from far away, ideally from far away, to make sure that we're taking them out. If you can get a hunting rifle, that's fantastic. A hunting rifle is far better than a pipe rifle, as a pipe rifle has a very low reload speed. But again, we're just trying to get the bare minimums to make sure that we're successful. We also need our backup weapons, and that is going to be a pipe pistol and a pipe machine gun. And these guns need to have at least one modification on them. It doesn't matter which one you have, as long as it's one that actually benefits you. So I like these in particular. I think these are fantastic options for guns. You might notice that I have a pipe shotgun up here, and I only recommend to use a shotgun if you have the double barrel shotgun. I don't recommend using a pipe shotgun as your main weapon, but it is also better than nothing. It's just that if we look, the reload speed on this thing is extremely slow, and even with a close range shot, this does not kill them. Even if you're super close range with them. See, that didn't even kill them, even though I was right next to them. Going back to this, if you can get a double barrel shotgun, I would highly recommend it. Otherwise, I would skip the pipe shotgun entirely. And if you could get the second row of items, great. In this case, a primitive bow is typically worse than a iron crossbow. Crossbow bolts are typically also harder to obtain. I have here the 44 Magnum. You probably won't get this, but if you stumble across one, consider yourself lucky. This is a fantastic weapon, and it's going to hold you over for quite some time. Moving on to armor. We want to make sure that we have at least a level 2 armor. Again, please ignore the levels here. Ideally, we'd have a full set. If that means you have to have a level 1 item to obtain a full set, then by all means go for it. If it were me, I would highly recommend the Commando set, as the Commando set gives a percentage range damage increase on the gloves. But if you wear the whole set, you also get recovery items worked faster. The one that I recommend when you're out scavenging is obviously the scavenger outfit, because you get more carrying capacity, salvage increase harvest, and you also gain more experience while salvaging. You will also find better loot quality if you have the full set, so I highly recommend this, especially when you're trying to prepare for your Horde night. If you're looking to gain experience, nothing is going to beat the nerd outfit. The nerd outfit gives more experience. It also gives an extra skill point chance when you're using books and magazines. These are the modifications that I recommend to put on your armor. If you have anything else, go ahead and fill these up, but these are the ones that you should be striving for, especially the bandolier modifier. A 15% faster reload speed is fantastic. Also, if you can get any one of these for your headgear, I would highly recommend equipping this, especially the Treasure Hunter mod, which also gives an increase on the XP gain, as well as increasing your loot stage. I would like to go back to something I said about game and loot stage. Keep in mind that the game dictates what loot you can get with your game stage, meaning that if you can increase your loot stage quickly, you can get better items. However, you're also going to be fighting stronger zombies. With that being said, you can quickly increase your loot stages by 1, leveling up, and 2, going to more difficult biomes. The green forest is pretty much where you're always going to be starting, unless you have a particular map that you don't start in a green forest. It then goes burnt forest, desert, snow, and then wasteland. If you're truly a beginner, I would go no higher than the desert on your first 7 days. The enemies in the snow and wasteland biome are extremely difficult and a different breed. You have been warned. Our third pillar of surviving the Horde night is stockpiling the necessary resources for the whole Horde night. Keep in mind that the Horde night lasts from 2200 to 0400. Meaning that you'll have to have 6 hours of non-stop action. You'll need the resources to last you the entire time, so keep a chest nearby for extra resources in case you run out on your person. Let's go ahead and talk about the items that you're going to be needing for your Horde night. We want to have a healthy stockpile, starting off with food and water. Ideally, we want to have a stack of each. Grilled meat is a good selection, and so is water. You can't go wrong with these. If you can get an airdrop that drops these, that's even better, because this also gives a bonus on the usage. Same with this. This gives efficient digestion, higher stamina regen, and cures dysentery. But if you cannot get those, just stick with this this should be fine. For healing items, we're going to at least want a stack of first aid bandages. If you can get first aid kits, great, but don't worry if you don't have those yet. However, you should be running into at least a few on your trips for the trader. We also want to make sure that we have a plaster cast or splint in case our leg gets damaged during the fight. If we don't have these, then we can be in some really big trouble. Let's go ahead and talk about some auxiliary items that we're going to need for the night. Some of these aren't required, but I highly recommend them. Starting off with vitamins. Vitamins are fantastic because they provide 1, disease resistance at 100% and 2, cure fatigue. But the big point here is the 100% disease resistance. If we pop these vitamins before Horde Night, right before it starts, we're going to be 100% immune to becoming infected. This is huge. We want to make sure we have at least a few vitamins for this night, even if it means buying it from the trader or whatever it may be. Painkillers are great because they cure concussions and they give you 100% stun resist. This is going to be fantastic for us in case we get in those sticky situations. Fort bites also provide a 40% damage reduction. So if you are ending up using your melee weapon, go ahead and pop these and you'll be doing just fine. If you are using ranged weapons a lot, this is awesome. 50% more damage on your ranged weapons is huge. And of course, we cannot forget Grandpa's Learning Elixir. 20% EXP gain on Horde Night is going to be massive. 20% doesn't sound like a lot, but that could be the difference between a few levels and not getting a few levels. And last but not least, we cannot forget our cure infection items. I highly recommend at least getting a few jars of honey by hitting some stumps, or getting at least an herbal antibiotics, or even perhaps a regular antibiotics might be overkill. Sticking to herbal antibiotics or just a few jars of honey will do you just fine. But if you're short on time and you only have antibiotics, that's fine. Just remember to not use this until the end of Horde Night, because you're probably going to be getting attacked multiple times. Ideally, you won't be getting hit at all, but we want to make sure that we're not using these items prematurely and then getting reinfected and thus wasting them. Moving on to ammo, we want to have at least a stack, or preferably 2 stacks, of whatever weapon we're going to be using as our primary weapon. In this case, I highly recommend using the pipe rifle, so you're going to want to have at least 1 stack of this, or 2. You probably won't be going through 150 shots with a pipe rifle, but if you had hunting rifle, you might be. A good way to gauge how much ammo you're going to be using is whenever you go on a trader mission to a point of interest, just calculate how much ammo you're using during that time and then roughly multiply it by like 5 or 7, around there. And that should give you a good idea of how long Horde Night's going to last and how much ammo you're going to be using. Last but not least, we're going to want to craft some traps. I recommend having at least 50 wooden traps and perhaps 20 or 30 barbed wire traps. But if you can get more than that, that would be awesome. But I would say that's probably the recommendation that you should be doing for traps, because traps are going to be fantastic in slowing down zombies. And last but not least, we cannot forget the repairing resources in case we need to do a quick repair on a critical part of the building or craft something really quickly. I highly recommend having at least 1,000 wood, 1,000 stone, a few hundred cobblestone. For concrete and iron, if you have it, great, but I wouldn't sweat about this. This is way too early, in my opinion, to be worrying about concrete and iron. And keep in mind, this is forged iron. I brought iron here because there's a difference between iron and forged iron. To repair things, you need forged iron. And to know what you need in order to repair something, I'm going to go ahead and drop this in here because I know that's what's needed to repair this. But if I wanted to repair this, I do not have the necessary I do not have the required materials to repair this item. You can see when I click it, over here, this X, and it shows the repair kit. So let's go ahead and add that repair kit back into our inventory and then try to repair it again. Boom. It automatically repairs it now. Fantastic. Same for this. We know that this is going to take a pipe, so let's go ahead and move that pipe out here. But if we didn't know what it needed and it was grayed out like this, oh, hey, we need a pipe. Perfect. We have some pipes. Let's go ahead and grab that pipe. Repair this. Awesome. Now we're back in business. So do keep some items that you know for sure repair your equipment. Typically, for all the pipe weapons, you're just going to need some pipes and that's it. But for the other weapons, just make sure that you try these out and click the repair to see what you need ahead of time. We got to save the best for last, which is the Horde base. This is our last pillar in our checklist. So with that in mind, there are 2 ways we can go about this. One is we can select an existing point of interest, also known as a POI, or we can build a Horde base. Keep in mind, there are plenty of great guides out there that can build horde bases, so be sure to check those out if you want to go down that route. I would like to make a quick note. If you are going down the route of making your own horde base, some of these bases will use a cheesing mechanic or mechanic that exploits how the zombie interacts with certain bases. I just want you to keep this in mind. If you do not want to go down that route and you don't wish to play that way, that's fine, but I just wanted to make sure that you are aware of that. Another thing to note is that you want to separate your horde base from your regular base. You want the horde base to be only where you go for horde night, and your regular base is where you're going to have your main operations with all your stuff, your storage, all your cooking supplies, all those goodies. Because if you have a horde night at your regular base and the zombies break in and destroy everything, you could lose all your precious resources and everything that you've accumulated. So don't have a horde night at your main base. This is a very important thing. With that being said, we're only going to be using points of interest for our horde base to make it easier for us. In this case, let's go ahead and break down the requirements that are needed for a good horde base. The absolute 4 requirements that I see in a horde base are: 1, it's a concrete structure, meaning the first level is at least concrete or cobblestone. The next one is roof access. I need to be able to make sure that I can get up on the roof, but for the most part, you can add a ladder to most walls and scale up to the roof anyways. But it's also nice if there's built-in roof access. Third is manageable size. And what I mean by this is that if you are solo, make sure that you choose a smaller point of interest, because you don't want to choose a large high school that you are trying to manage on a horde night. That would be insane. The fourth item that we need is good visibility all around the point of interest. We want to make sure that we can see everything and anything coming our way. And last thing we need is multiple escape routes. If you get overrun or the zombies are able to get to you, you need to be able to access one of these escape routes, regardless of what position you're in, and you need to know exactly where to go. Let's go ahead and go over a few points of interest and judge how well they would be suited for a horde base. So starting off with the Mortician's house. So I'm going to pause here for a second and just let you take a look at this. Would this be a good horde base? Do you think this would be a suitable horde base for you? All right, so now that you've had a look at it, if it were me personally, I would say no. I don't like this as a horde base. It's nice that it has a little fence, but for me, and if this also depends too how big your party is, this is a pretty large area to cover. They can easily get in and start breaking down all this wood, and wood is pretty easy to break. So yes, there is roof access, but it's not a concrete structure, and once they're under you, it's pretty hard to see where they're coming from. So I'm gonna say no on this one. But then let's look at Grumpy's Pub. Let's take a second to take a look at this. See what you think. Take a moment to digest your answer. So what did you get? What do you think? Is this a good horde base? My answer is it could be, actually. This is actually a decent one in my opinion. Whoa, nice, dude. That's very distracting. The reason why it's decent is that it's got concrete. It's a concrete building, and what the nice thing is, it's a simple square, so it's a lot easier to see around us if we're being attacked. The nice thing too is that there is a chain link fence around as well, so that is also, so say we're up here, and you know, pretend like that's someone who's attacking us. You know, we could shoot through the concrete, or sorry, not concrete, the chain link fence. So that acts as another structure or barrier that will help protect us. So it's already got a few things going for it. Now, a simple way to fix this is just add a little bit more ladders to get up here, but obviously remove the bottom two, so that way zombies can't get up. So, and also there are some, it looks like here, there are some escape routes that we could take. We could also like perhaps build a bridge here to go there and take out the last link. So if we were to if we had to escape to that roof, we could. And then cut the bridge in a sense so the zombies can't come across. We could also jump over there and maybe go up there and hold out for a bit longer. So this one I would say is actually pretty decent. So I do like this one. Let's go ahead and take a look at just a normal house. I think this one was called the Vacant House or something to that effect. Vacon. Can't remember the name exactly. But let's go ahead and take a look, see what it's made of, what it looks like around it, all that good stuff. So now that you've had a second to take a look, what do you think? Is this a good horde base? My answer is no. No, because this is not a good structure to be on. So say if you're up here, there's a nice little path for the zombies to get to right here. They could easily come up there. Yes, you could block this, but now that means you're fighting on two fronts that you have to worry about. So if we did barricade this, there's now two fronts that we're fighting on. The ones that are out here and the ones that are coming up here. So now we have to worry about looks like this guy just got up easier somehow too. So yeah, that's another reason why this would not be good, because there's a natural way of getting up here. Now, we could probably lower this with some sort of shovel and getting rid of this, but still, it's just a good point right here that it's probably not a good structure, and also it's a wood structure too. It doesn't look like it is a cobblestone or concrete structure. So let's take a look at this diner. We'll take a look at Richard's Diner. What do we think on this one? So you probably can see a pattern by now, but this one is fantastic. And the way you can know if it's concrete or cobblestone is that you can actually hit it and you'll see how much HP is on it. So in this case, a 5,000 HP block is indicative that it's concrete. This whole structure is concrete. This is fantastic. It's a square, small building, so this is perfectly suitable for someone who's doing this solo. So this would be a really nice spot to hold up to, especially there is a little bit of roof access. So say if we wanted to get up here, we might not be able to make this jump. We might need to put a block here. Yeah, see, so we couldn't be able to get this, but neither could the zombies, right? So we would have to put a block there, but it would at least allow us to get up. Let's go ahead and go over some general guidelines for how to prepare a horde base using a point of interest that you find. First up is to place traps where you know that there's going to be high throwaways for zombies to be walking through. So if you expect zombies to be walking through areas like this a lot, make sure to place these traps. These are going to help a lot, especially if zombies are going to be trying to, walk through this to get to you. They're going to be taking that damage as they walk through that. But specifically for places that you know for sure they're going to walk, use the barbed wire, because the barbed wire is more of an investment than the wooden spike trap. We'll be putting the wood spike traps, because we made more of those, along places that we think that they'll walk through, but we're not guaranteed that they're going to walk through. So see how this whole line is nothing but wooden spike traps? It's because we think that they're going to walk through this, but we're not sure. But we know for sure that they're going to target this spot because it's a doorway, and same for this. So we could put more traps here because we know that this is a place that they're more likely to going to focus on. And it's okay that the traps are, kind of hovering like that. It just means that there's some sort of block there. I think it's this facade block. So yeah, that facade block was just in the way, but we can get rid of it easily, or at least, in this mode. But if you want to, you could remove those facades, but the facades also might act as another barrier. So something to keep in mind, you might want to keep that facade. Another idea is, for a fact that they're going to try to go through this door. You could keep this door. This is not a bad door. It's a wooden door. It just doesn't have that high of HP. It's only, 250. What I would recommend is replacing this with either put blocks in here, or you could put an iron door. It's up to you. Like here, we have an iron door. It doesn't have that great of HP. You can see here, it's only got 300 out of the 7,000 that was here before. So another idea is you could probably heal it if you wanted to. You can get some iron to heal this. This one, again, same idea. It's not that great, so we either want to block that up or replace it with a better door to act as a barrier. And then we also have to check the back to make sure that zombies aren't getting from the back. As you can see, we got some wooden spike traps to kind of block this area. We could also put some wooden spike traps here because we know that they're going to try to approach from this area. So it's best that we cover all of our bases as much as we can, filling in this pit with those spike traps, making it really difficult for these zombies to get through this, or, you know, at least a lot easier for us to defend. So say if they were coming from this side, we could also just boom, boom, you know, just take out the ones that we could see. With this green tarp here, it's a bit harder to see, but, you know, we can kind of walk over here and take them out as we see fit. While we're up here, another tip is it's kind of hard to see. You know, you kind of have to go to the edge. You kind of have to waste some time to see. And, you know, you might even fall. You know, that's not good. And this is a perfect example of where parkour would come into effect here. If we jumped 1 meter higher with that level 2 parkour, we would be able to make that jump a lot easier. Same here. We could just jump up here and then probably jump up there and get back up much easier with at least a level 2 parkour. But I highly recommend using the building block or the crafting block bars. And what's nice about these is you could stand up and you could shoot through them. See how we're shooting through that wall? Or we're shooting through the bars and hitting the wall? This gives you a perfect way of seeing what's below you. So we have a much better shot compared to this. You know, we could probably get a clear shot, but we'd have to, you know, finick around with it. These bars make it so much easier to shoot. One, because it's such better visibility. And two, even if we did shoot them, it's kind of hard to actually hit these bars. But, you know, we made them out of cobblestone, so even if we hit them a few times, they could take the hit. So we could see if they're going to start falling apart pretty easily, though. But pro tip, use these bars. Put them around the parapet of the building, just all around, especially in areas that you know are going to take the hit. Also, you might want to be careful about stuff like that. That is explosive. So if zombies shoot this, there's good damage that it's going to damage this whole wall and potentially take it out. So if you want to ahead of time, shoot this thing so you get rid of it, then repair the wall. But just something to note that zombies might come for this, and they're not naturally drawn to this, but if someone accidentally shoot this, it could be pretty bad. And again, make sure you have a bedroll on here on your horde base, as well as some supplies. We have boxes of supplies for more ammo, you know, healing kits, whatever it may be. Repair resources, just spare stuff that we don't have on our people already. To kind of summarize, we want to use our barbed wire fence on, for sure, high throwaways that we know zombies are going to go to. We want to put wooden traps on places that we know the zombies are going to go to, but we're not confident that it's going to be high traffic. Again, we also have, you know, barbed wire because this is another path for them to get through. This is a weak point. Again, it's only probably 300 HP, I think. Yeah, less than that. So put some wooden traps here. I know for sure zombies are going to go through here. Zombies prefer going through open ways. Even if there's traps, it's really weird. Even if there's traps, they still prefer to walk through this instead of jumping over this wooden fence. Same through here. So you kind of get the idea of like where zombies are going to walk through with all these open spots. We could place some traps here. So boom, boom, boom. Just place them like this and boom, done. Now we've securely fortified this spot. If you want to go the extra mile, and this, it's honestly, this action is not really meant for your 7th Horde night. It'd be more for the 14th or 21. Is you see this line of grass? This line of grass actually outlines perfectly a moat you can dig. And what I mean by that is that you can build a moat that's 2 blocks deep. So let's go ahead and do that with this auger. So this 2 blocks deep, 2 blocks wide, and then have this basically extend this whole thing just like this. Extend this whole thing around the building. Can a zombie attack this? Yes, they could. But if you build a ramp out like this, if you make it so zombies can walk out easily like this, they're not going to attack this part. They're not going to attack this part. And that's the beauty of it. Bring this trench all around your whole base, just on the 3 sides, just on the back and the sides, not in the front. And what that does is that it's going to make the zombies approach only from this side. So you don't have to fight on 4 sides. You only have to fight on the front side. And if you want to go the extra mile, bring in the trench to here and then bring in the trench to here, and then have a little pathway in the front, so then the zombies can still get to you, but they have to now go through this small little front that you basically beeline them to. It's a really effective way. Just make sure that in the trench, the zombies have a way of getting out. They cannot be trapped in there. If they are trapped, they will attack the sides and thus breaking your moat. And if you have it, or if you could buy one, I highly recommend a robotic turret. A robotic turret that shoots robotic ammo, such as this. Make sure it has robotic ammo in it. And the reason why you want one, and it's weird, like, why are we facing it outwards, behind, like where we'd be standing? Like, why would we do that? Well, the reason why we do this is that we want to conserve robotic ammo, because robotic ammo can be a bit pricey. And two, we want to be defended against aerial creatures that might attack us during the Horde night. This robotic turret will be watching our backs, so if we get attacked from one of the vultures that might come in, this thing will take it out pretty easily. With the way this Horde base is set up, they're going to attack the building. They're not going to attack us. If there's no clear path to get up to us, the zombies will attack the building to bring it down so they can come to us. For your first Horde night, this is fine because they're not going to be able to do that much damage to this building. This building is going to be just fine. On farther Horde nights, you might want to consider building like a little pathway for the zombies to get up, but make it a bit difficult for them. That way they don't attack just the building. They try to get up to you, but you can make it a bit more difficult. You can even put some turrets up here to, really take them out, but you are beelining them to come up to this pathway. So that's the beautiful thing about it. So you can experiment with that. There are some ways that you can actually mess around with that, especially with the pathing. And if you really wanted to, because you know that zombies are going to be in here, you can actually go around here and start placing, any more wooden traps to help protect the inside of this place. So if you wanted to put some more traps here or put some barbed wire, go for it, because you know that they're going to be coming from this way and this way. So we want to make it more difficult for the zombies to get in here and start messing things up. So just think about stuff that you want to put in here to really stir things up. And last but not least, let's cover some throwable items. These three right here are perfect because if you look here, the block damage is extremely low. We do not want to do any block damage. So anything that has low block damage is great. This has insane block damage. We do not want to use this or this. This has a much larger block explosion radius compared to this. So now that we've gone over the 4 pillars of survival, let's go ahead and get into the management aspect so that way we can have a clear foundation of exactly what we need to do. I want your last trader mission to be on day 6, because day 6 and day 7 should technically be all about you prepping for the Horde night, and especially prepping your Horde base. The Horde night starts at 2200 on day 7. So with that in mind, we want to make sure that we've tested all of our weapons, we know exactly what resources we have, and we have backup resources in all of our chests. Make sure that you have all escape routes accounted for, and then you have the necessary means of getting in and out of these places. Remember, you want most of your items on your person. You also want to make sure that you have backup resources in chests, not in just one location, but multiple locations, as well as your backup location in case your Horde base does fall. Lastly, place a bedroll in your Horde base, because if you die, you want to be able to respawn on your Horde base and not 100 meters away from your body. You want to spawn in an ideal place. Alright, we're at the very end. Let's go ahead and take a moment to review what we've discussed thus far. We've gone over the 4 pillars of survival: leveling up, grabbing better gear, stockpiling relevant items for Horde night, and making or finding a Horde base that's separate from your main base. Leveling up is going to be key for us because 1, it gives us more skill points to have, and 2, it gives us a higher game stage and a loot stage. Here's a summary of all the skills we talked about earlier, and my personal recommendations. The more stars it has, the higher in value I think that skill is. Moving on to weapons, we want to have at least level 2 for everything. So we want a primary melee, it doesn't matter which one it is. We want a primary range, preferably the pipe rifle with a long range scope, and 2 secondary weapons, which is the pipe pistol and pipe machine gun. Those 2 items at the end are going to be what we use if we get swarmed or we need to clear out something really quickly. For armor, have a level 2 set. Ideally, you have a full set of the same type of armor, whether it be scavenger, commando, ranger, it doesn't matter as long as you like it and you enjoy it. My personal favorite is the full nerd armor set for the EXP boost as well as learning more skills. Now for items, we want to make sure we have enough ammo. I think 500 rounds is probably the minimum that you want to have amongst your whole lineup of weapons. You can also have enough arrows or bolts as a backup. It's not necessary though, but if you think you're going to run out, I highly suggest it. Make sure you also have the necessary repair kits or resources for your weapons. Typically, pipe items are going to just use pipes. And for our survival resources, we want to have a full stack of bandages and ideally 2 or 3 first aid kits on hand. For our infection cures, we want to have 1 herbal antibiotic or 2 or 3 honey. We also don't want to use these until the end of Horde night because we're probably going to get infected if we're not using vitamins. Food and water, you want to have at least 2 stacks. 1 stack on your person and then another stack in some of your chests. Or you could split the stacks into different chests, 1 on your Horde base and 1 in your backup base. Let's not forget our auxiliary items, the items that we could have but they aren't needed, but these are just bonuses in a sense. So we got the Grandpa's Learning Elixir for more experience, recog if you're going a ranged build, vitamins for infection resistance. This one's is huge because this completely negates any chance of you getting infected. And last, a leg cast. I do think this one is a bit more critical because if you have a broken leg during Horde night, you're going to be in some trouble. We also want to make sure we have enough wood, stone, and cobblestone in order to repair the base for any items that might need attention, such as walls or pathways. We also want to make sure we have enough traps. Wooden spikes and barbed wire are going to be your best bets. Wood spikes for the damage and barbed wire to slow down. Although wood spikes do slow down, it's just that they're more for slowing down zombies compared to wood spikes that are more meant for damage. And lastly, let's talk about the points of interest requirements for a Horde base. We want to have the base structure is cobblestone or concrete. We want to have roof access, which you can provide regardless. A manageable size for your group, so it depends if you're doing this solo or if you're going to do it with some friends. Make sure that it's at a manageable size for you and your group. 360 visibility, so buildings that are surrounded by other buildings that are hard to remove might not be the best choice, but if there are trees surrounding you, you can knock down those trees, make it easy for you. And of course, have an agreement amongst your group as to the backup plan. When do you guys abandon the base and where are you guys going to go? Make sure everyone's in agreement with that and when you guys are going to do that. Now that you know the basics of surviving your first Horde night, let me give you a quick peek of how this evolves to the mid and late game. Personally, I like running a more aggressive build focused on mobility and firepower. I loved range builds, so you'll see me using a lot of the guns and running around and jumping to higher places, so it's harder for these zombies to get to me. You can see here I have the max parkour for the ultimate mobility, running guns so I'm not slowed down by reloading, and also maxing out my gun skill so I have tons of ammo and I'm doing maximum damage. If you survived your first Horde night using this guide and want to continue leveling up your game, I'll cover some advanced strategies in some new videos. Drop a comment down below with how your first Horde night went and what advanced strategies you'd like to learn about next. I definitely read all the comments and I take in all the requests that people make, especially if there's a lot of people that are asking for it. If you learned something new and you enjoyed this video, I'd greatly appreciate a like. If you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel immensely. And as always, I will see you next time and have a good one.